inevitable. And I am Iron Man.
Welcome to Mr. Screen. Anyone who has been following the Avengers since the beginning is already accustomed to many plot twists, but now it's time for Doomsday, and the only one capable of doing it is Doom. Actually better in this new version, Tony Stark Doom or Dr. Doom Stark. You choose the name. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. The rebirth of shadows. Darkness stretched over the New York skyline. The city, still recovering from the battle with Thanos, seemed calm, but something sinister was beginning to move in the shadows. After Tony Stark's sacrifice, the universe enjoyed an uncertain peace. The billionaire genius who had given his life to defeat the Mad Titan and restore order was now a legend, an icon for all humanity. However, in a hidden dimension of reality, forces that no hero could foresee were working to bring Stark back. But not as the hero everyone knew. Victor Von Doom, the tyrannical ruler of Latveria and master of the arcane arts, watched the flow of time and reality closely. He knew that Stark's sacrifice had left a gap in the cosmos, an imbalance he could exploit. Doom didn't just want power, he wanted absolute supremacy, and for that he needed more than his own genius. He needed Tony Stark's mind and body. With an arcane ritual and the manipulation of technological forces that only Doom could understand, he achieved the impossible. Tony Stark was brought back to life, but he was not the same man who had once saved the universe. He was possessed by something far more evil. Doom had transferred his very essence into Stark, merging with him. Now they were one. Doom Stark had been born, a fusion of two of the most intelligent and dangerous men on the planet, but with one purpose: destruction. The return of the Avengers. Meanwhile, the new Avengers, led by Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, continued to protect the world after Thanos' fall. The team, made up of heroes such as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, faced new global threats. But nothing could prepare them for what was to come. On a seemingly ordinary morning, an emergency signal began to sound in Avengers Tower. Sam Wilson was the first to respond, verifying the alert. "Captain, you're going to want to see this," Bucky said, watching the monitor screens. What they saw was something they didn't want to believe. Tony Stark had been spotted in Latveria, the country ruled by Doom, but something was terribly wrong. His movements were cold, calculated, and his eyes, they weren't the eyes of the hero they knew. "This can't be real." "Tony's dead," Sam said, trying to rationalize what he saw. Wanda, with her mystical powers, sensed something disturbing in Stark's presence. "It's not just Tony. Something's wrong. I scent darkness." The Avengers immediately prepared to investigate. If there was any chance that Tony Stark was alive, they needed to find out what was happening. But none of them were prepared for the true terror that awaited them. Doom Stark reveals himself. When the Avengers arrived in Latveria, the silence was eerie. The streets were deserted, and Doom's fortress was shrouded in an aura of mystery and power. As they entered the castle, they were greeted by a familiar yet completely unfamiliar figure. "Tony," Sam Wilson called out hopefully. But the answer that came was cold and devoid of any humanity. Tony Stark is no more. Only Doom Stark remains. He appeared before them, a mix of his iconic Iron Man armor and Doom's arcane elements. A dark glow radiated from his eyes, and his presence was overwhelming. Doom had achieved what he had always wanted. The limitless power of Stark's mind and his own magic combined into a force that not even the Avengers could match. "You were fools to think you could rule this world without me. Now you will see the true apocalypse," Doom Stark declared, his voice ringing with an authority that made even the most powerful Avengers hesitate. Before they could react, Doom Stark struck. In one swift, devastating move, he unleashed a blast of energy that struck straight at Sam and Bucky, knocking them back with brutal force. Carol Danvers attempted to retaliate with all her cosmic might, but Doom Stark blocked her attack with ease, channeling his own energy and knocking it away. The battle was short and brutal. Despite all their efforts, the Avengers were defeated one by one. Sam fell to his knees, trying to get up, but before he could react, Doom Stark lifted him by the neck. "You are not worthy to carry this shield," he said, throwing Sam to the ground with contempt. With the Avengers defeated, Doom Stark rose as the new global threat. He had only shown a fraction of his power, and now nothing seemed capable of stopping him. The beginning of Doomsday. Doom Stark began his campaign for world domination. Using the vast network of technology Stark had created, combined with Doom's magic, he began to transform the planet in his image. Each city fell under his rule, one by one. Doom Stark used drones and weapons of mass destruction to control the population, while his mystical powers protected him from any resistance. Meanwhile, Sam Wilson, Bucky, and the other surviving Avengers tried to regroup. They knew they were facing an enemy unlike any before. Tony Stark had been the heart of the team, the man with the solutions, and now he was Doom's most lethal weapon. Sam, still feeling the weight of his shield, wondered if he was ready for this fight. How can we defeat the man who has always had the answer to everything? He wondered aloud. Wanda, though wounded, offered a grim answer. We have to destroy him. There is no other way. Tony is gone. All that's left is Doom. Reluctantly, Sam knew she was right. If there was any chance of saving the world, they would have to end Doom Stark, no matter the cost. The resistance and the revelation as Doom Stark prepared to deliver the final blow. The Avengers discovered a crucial clue. Using Tony's old files, they discovered that there was a backup program built into Stark's armor, a safeguard Tony had created in case his technology became corrupted. This could be the key to defeating Doom. Sam, Wanda, Bucky, and the others hatched a desperate plan. They knew they didn't have the power to face Doom Stark directly, but if they could activate the safeguard, they could disable his systems and weaken Doom enough to destroy him. The final battle was about to begin. They knew this might be their last mission, but they were prepared to risk everything. The desperate plan, the Avengers knew they didn't have much time. Doom Stark was expanding his control over the world at an alarming rate. Entire cities were falling under his rule, and the already weakened resistance was crumbling. Sam Wilson, Captain America's shield in hand, gathered the team together to discuss their plan. "We have to find the hidden base where Tony kept his latest secret project," Sam said, taking a deep breath. "If we can activate the safeguard, we might have a chance to take Doom Stark down from the inside. If Stark designed this, then it's flawed, even with Doom in control," Bucky replied, agreeing with the strategy. "But the question is, where can we find it?" Wanda Maximoff closed her eyes, feeling Tony's residual energy. Using her mystical powers, she tried to connect to the old Stark, to the memory of him that still resided in the frequencies of the technology he had created. "I can sense something in the old Avengers Tower," she murmured. "There's an energy there hidden. If we can get there, maybe we'll find what we need." The group agreed, and despite their wounds from the last battle, they set off for New York, where the Avengers Tower, now in ruins, hid what could be humanity's last hope. Doom's trap. What the Avengers didn't know was that Doom Stark was one step ahead. As they made their way to Avengers Tower, Doom Stark watched over them through his advanced surveillance networks. He had anticipated that they would try Stark's latest trick, and instead of blocking their access, he lured them right into his trap. Inside the tower, the surroundings seemed desolate, but familiar. Sam led the way, followed closely by Bucky and Wanda. The once vibrant hallways were now dusty and empty, but the tension was palpable. "Something doesn't feel right," Sam said, stopping in his tracks. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the building. "Do you really think you can stop me? Do you think you can use Tony Stark's creations against me?" The voice of Doom Stark, a fusion of Doom and Tony, rang out cold and cruel. "I am more than just Stark or Doom. I am something far beyond your understanding." Before they could react, the walls around them lit up with holograms and technological traps. Invisible drones appeared from the ceiling, firing energy beams. Sam raised his shield, blocking the attacks, while Wanda conjured a magical barrier to protect the group. "The trap has been sprung," Bucky shouted, running for cover. Wanda used her powers to destroy some of the drones, but there were too many. They were surrounded and with no way out. Doom Stark appeared on the screens around him, watching them with a superior gaze. "You were fools to think you could fool me," he sneered, as the Avengers were pushed deeper and deeper into the tower. "But since you've come this far, let's see how far you can get." The safeguard revealed. Amidst the chaos of the battle inside the tower, Sam managed to reach the control center. It was there that Tony had stored his last secret. Bucky and Wanda were struggling to keep the drones at bay, but Doom Stark was increasing the intensity of the attacks. It seemed impossible to get out of this situation alive. Sam, sweat dripping down his face, began to fiddle with the consoles. "Come on, Stark. Let this work," he muttered as he tried to access the system. Suddenly, a soft light shone on the screen. Tony Stark's image appeared for a brief moment, like a pre-recorded hologram. It was a final message from Stark. "If you're seeing this, then things have gone terribly wrong," Tony's hologram said. "Doom has taken control, but I saw this coming. There's a flaw in the armor he's wearing, one that can only be activated from within. If you can disable the arcane energy source Doom used to merge with me, you might have a chance to free me, or at least finish him off." Sam breathed a sigh of relief, but reality soon set in again. They still needed to find the energy core that powered Doom Stark. And to do that, they would have to face the enemy head-on. "We have a chance," Sam said, looking at the others. "But we have to act now." The final battle. With Tony's information, the Avengers set out to confront Doom Stark in his fortress. It was their last stand: defeat Doom or watch the world be transformed into a hell ruled by their new supremacy. When they arrived at the fortress, Doom Stark was already waiting for them, atop an imposing platform, with an army of drones surrounding him. "Do you really think you can stop me with such a pathetic trick?" Doom Stark said, his voice thick with arrogance. The battle began, and it soon became clear that Doom Stark was on another level. Each of the Avengers gave their best, but none could penetrate his defense. Sam tried to use his shield to destabilize Doom, while Wanda attacked with magic, but Doom blocked every blow with a wave of his hand. "You are nothing without Stark," he declared, launching a wave of energy that threw everyone back. But at the last second, Bucky managed to activate the device Sam had found. A pulse of energy spread through the fortress, and for a brief moment, Doom Stark found himself weakened. The arcane runes he had used to merge with Tony began to waver. "No!" Sam shouted, rushing toward Doom. With a precise strike, he struck the energy core in Doom Stark's chest, and for an instant, the fusion between Doom and Stark began to crumble. Doom's essence fought to maintain control, but Tony Stark, even in the depths of his own mind, resisted. Doom Stark fell to his knees, screaming in fury, "You cannot defeat me." But with a final effort, Wanda channeled her magic to destroy the arcane connections that powered Doom. The fusion between Doom and Tony finally broke, and Doom was separated from Stark, his body destroyed by the energy released. Tony, now freed, collapsed to the ground, exhausted and powerless. He looked up at the Avengers, his former allies. "I'm sorry," he muttered, before losing consciousness. The unknown of the multiverse. With Doom defeated and Tony Stark rescued, the world began to recover. The Avengers, led by Sam Wilson, finally managed to avoid the global catastrophe that Doom Stark had planned. But Tony, the moment he regains consciousness, hears a voice again in his mind. "We are one. We are Doom." The rise of Anti-Venom, the last stand. Peter Parker never imagined he would see Tony Stark like this. From an iconic hero, a symbol of hope, to a villain whose presence could make even the bravest tremble, Dr. Doom, as he now called himself, had become the greatest threat the world had ever known. And the responsibility of stopping him fell on Peter's shoulders, still a young man who barely understood the powers he carried. The story begins in New York, the city that never sleeps, but now shrouded in shadow. Ever since Tony Stark was corrupted and took on the mantle of Dr. Doom, the world has been in a constant state of fear. Stark's advanced technology, combined with Doom's mystical and dark arts, has created an unparalleled threat. The Avengers Towers, once a symbol of protection, now stand dark and sinister, a fortress of terror. Peter sat atop a building, surveying the city. What was once a vibrant place full of life was now dark, shrouded in a fog that seemed to never lift. His spider senses were on high alert, and he knew time was running out. The Avengers had tried everything they could to stop Stark, but all their efforts were in vain. Thor, Hulk, Captain America, they all fell one by one. But Peter had one last trick up his sleeve. After Stark's emergence as Doom, Peter was contacted by Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Richards had been on a desperate mission, trying to find something, anything, that could counter the mix of magic and technology that Stark now mastered. It was on one of these searches that he found something no one expected, the anti-venom suit. The anti-venom suit. Reed Richards explained to Peter that the anti-venom suit was an evolved form of the venom symbiote, but with one crucial difference. It was capable of healing and neutralizing other forms of symbiotes, in addition to having abilities that could interact with magic. It was a perfect weapon against Dr. Doom, or so they hoped. "Peter, you are our last hope," Reed had said with uncharacteristic gravity. "I know it's a lot of pressure, but if anyone can wear this suit and make a difference, it's you." The suit was unlike anything Peter had ever worn. Unlike Venom's jet black suit, Anti-Venom was snow white, with pulsing black veins running through his body. As the suit fused with him, Peter felt an overwhelming power, something almost uncontrollable, but he also felt a responsibility greater than any other. Peter knew the suit was dangerous, but there was no other option. He had to stop Tony Stark, now Dr. Doom, before he plunged the entire world into darkness. The initial confrontation, the Avengers' Fortress, now a dark castle of technology and magic, stood in the center of New York. Peter moved quickly, his abilities enhanced by the anti-venom suit. He could feel the power growing within him, but also the resistance of the suit, as if it were trying to mold Peter to its own will. He entered the fortress through the most inconspicuous entrance he could find. Inside, the atmosphere was stifling. The walls were covered in mystical runes that pulsed with dark energy. Peter knew Stark was waiting for him. There were rumors that Dr. Doom was omniscient within his fortress, that he controlled everything with a mere thought. Peter encountered the first group of soldiers. They were not human, but robotic creatures created by the fusion of magic and technology. The anti-venom suit reacted immediately, its healing powers corrupting and destroying the magical fusion that held these creatures together. Within seconds, the group was destroyed, making Peter even more aware of the power he possessed. But with this power came a crushing responsibility. Anti-Venom had a will of his own, and Peter felt the suit trying to take control, trying to shape his thoughts and actions. After fighting through several waves of Stark's creatures and automatons, Peter finally reached the main hall, where Tony Stark was waiting. What he saw made his heart stop. Stark stood in the center of a large room, surrounded by holograms and screens that displayed different realities, as if he were trying to control not just this Earth, but multiple versions of it. The Doom armor he wore was a fusion of Iron Man's old armor with mystical runes, glowing with a sinister purple energy. "Peter, I knew you would come," Stark said, not turning to face him. "Always so predictable. And so weak. Tony, you don't have to do this. There is still a way to stop it." "We can help you," Peter pleaded, but even as he spoke, he knew Stark was beyond redemption. "Help." Stark turned to him, and his eyes glowed with a hatred Peter had never seen before. "I am the only one who can save this world, Peter. The Avengers have failed. I am the only one who understands what needs to be done." Peter felt Anti-Venom react to Doom's presence, as if he were instinctively trying to fight against the power emanating from him. Without any warning, Doom launched a devastating attack, a blast of mystical energy combined with repulsor rays that destroyed everything in its path. Peter barely had time to react. He dodged, but felt the wave of energy pass through him, ripping part of his suit. Anti-Venom screamed inside his mind, a deep pain that almost knocked him out. The decisive battle, the battle that followed, was like nothing Peter had ever faced. Dr. Doom was incredibly powerful, each attack precise, devastating. He manipulated technology and magic with mastery, creating force fields, illusions, and energy attacks that kept Peter in constant motion, trying desperately to stay alive. Anti-Venom reacted to each blow, quickly healing Peter's injuries, but the pain was real, and the constant struggle to maintain control of the suit was draining his energy. Even with his increased powers, Peter felt at a disadvantage. Doom was relentless and seemed to enjoy watching him suffer. "You're nothing without this suit, Parker," Doom sneered. "You're just a kid playing hero. Without Anti-Venom, you'd be crushed like a bug." Stark's words hit Peter hard. Part of him knew it was true. Anti-Venom was his only hope for victory, but at the same time, he knew the suit was trying to dominate him, to use his anger and fear as fuel. In a moment of clarity, Peter realized he needed to embrace the suit, not fight it. Anti-Venom wasn't just a weapon, it was part of him now. He needed to trust his instincts, trust his own inner strength. With this new resolve, Peter began to focus, channeling the full power of Anti-Venom into his attacks. Bright white energy began to grow around him, forming a powerful aura that overshadowed Doom's dark light. "You won't win, Tony," Peter said, his voice firm. "No matter how hard you try, no matter how powerful you become, I will stop you. Because that's what I do. I protect people. I'm Spider-Man. Doom laughed, but there was a note of uncertainty in his voice. He attacked with more ferocity, but Peter was prepared. Anti-venom absorbed the attacks, converting the energy into pure power. Each blow Doom delivered only strengthened Peter. Finally, Peter saw his opening. With a scream of pure determination, he launched a final strike, focusing all of Anti-Venom's energy into a single blow. Doom tried to block, but the power was too much for him. The energy tore through his defenses, destroying the layers of technology and magic that protected him. For a moment, all was silent. Doom lay prone, his armor destroyed, the body of Tony Stark revealed beneath, weakened and vulnerable. Peter approached cautiously, Anti-Venom still pulsing with power. "Tony, it's over," Peter said, but before he could do anything else, he felt a cold hand grab his arm. Doom lifted his head, his eyes glowing with indescribable fury. "It's over. This is just the beginning, Parker. You don't understand what I'm trying to do." The final sacrifice. Before Peter could react, Doom unleashed a final blast of energy, a wave of destruction that began to consume everything around them. The ground began to crack, and the fortress began to crumble. Doom was trying to take everyone and everything with him. Desperately, Peter tried to contain the energy, but he felt Anti-Venom begin to weaken. The battle had consumed almost all of his strength. He knew he didn't have much time. It was then that he made the most difficult decision of his life. Using the last of Anti-Venom's power, Peter launched himself at Doom, enveloping him with the suit. Anti-Venom began to fight back, trying to neutralize Doom's destructive energy, but Peter knew it wouldn't be enough. He had to sacrifice himself to save everyone. "I'm sorry, Tony," Peter whispered as the energy consumed them. "I'm sorry for everything." With one final scream, Peter channeled the full power of Anti-Venom, creating an explosion of white light that engulfed the entire fortress. Doom's destructive energy was neutralized, but at a terrible cost. When the light finally dissipated, the fortress was in ruins, and Peter lay on the ground, the Anti-Venom suit slowly disintegrating. Doom lay beside him, unconscious and vulnerable. The threat had passed, but at a great cost. Dr. Doom's triumph, the time warp. Peter Parker's Spider-Man watched over New York City from the height of a building. The city had been shrouded in shadow ever since Tony Stark, corrupted by power, took on the mantle of Dr. Doom. Stark had become an unparalleled threat, combining his technological genius with dark mystical arts, transforming Avengers Tower into an impenetrable fortress of terror. The world's mightiest heroes had fallen before him, leaving Peter as the last hope. Reed Richards had given Peter the Anti-Venom suit, a powerful weapon that could be the key to defeating Stark. The white suit with black veins pulsed with an energy that Peter could barely control, but he knew there was no other option. He infiltrated the fortress, fighting off hordes of robotic creatures imbued with magic, until he reached the main hall, where Tony Stark, now Dr. Doom, awaited him. The battle was fierce. Dr. Doom was relentless, attacking Peter with a devastating combination of advanced technology and dark magic. Despite his powers enhanced by Anti-Venom, Peter was at a disadvantage. Every blow from Doom was precise and devastating, and the fortress around them began to crumble under the weight of the battle. Peter struggled not only to fight Stark, but also to maintain control of the suit that threatened to overwhelm him. At the decisive moment, Doom revealed his true plan. Using advanced technology combined with mystical spells, he opened a portal to another timeline. Before Peter could react, Doom delivered a final blow that left Peter severely injured and unable to continue fighting. Stark, triumphant, looked down at Peter with disdain. "You were never my match, Parker," Doom said coldly. "This world is doomed, and I will rule a universe where my vision will be realized." With that, Dr. Doom stepped into the portal, leaving Peter defeated and the fortress crumbling around him. By the time the Avengers finally arrived, it was too late. Tony Stark had disappeared into a new reality, where he would rule with an iron fist. Peter, wounded, reflected on his defeat, knowing that the weight of his actions and the threat of Stark still loomed over the multiverse. The legacy of Spider-Man. The Avengers, shattered, rescued Peter from the rubble of the fortress. The city lay in ruins, and confidence in the heroes had been shaken to its core. Stark had triumphed, and the threat of Dr. Doom now stretched across multiple realities. Peter, as he recovered from his injuries, reflected on the gravity of his defeat. He knew that Tony Stark, in another timeline, would continue to spread his evil influence. The responsibility to stop this threat remained, even with the crushing loss he had just suffered. The weight of failure, as well as the dark power of anti-venom, was a burden Peter knew he would carry forever. Even so, he prepared himself for what was to come, knowing that, somewhere, Dr. Doom was still lurking, ready to destroy everything he loved. Peter Parker's Spider-Man would continue his fight, now aware that the hardest battles were yet to come, in a multiverse where evil triumphed, and where he, once again, would have to face the weight of being the last hero of a reality in decline. Charles Xavier Mistaka. After the Avengers' victory against Thanos, the world was still in shock over the loss of Tony Stark. The man who sacrificed his life to ensure the safety of the universe was now remembered as a martyr, an unparalleled hero. However, in a secluded corner of the X-Mansion, Professor Charles Xavier observed the mental waves of the universe with growing concern. In the mansion's secret laboratory, Charles connected to Cerebro, the device that amplified his telepathic abilities to cosmic levels. He had done this countless times to monitor the natural order of the universe, but this time something was wrong. The temporal and mental waves were in disarray, and he realized something that filled him with fear. Tony Stark's death, which seemed to be the key event in Thanos' defeat, had caused an imbalance in the parallel universes. Xavier could see a growing threat, something that was approaching quickly and inevitably. Stark's absence was triggering a collapse in the barriers between realities. The sacrifice that Tony had made, instead of restoring balance, had opened a wound in the fabric of the multiverse. Convinced that the only way to save the multiverse was to bring Tony Stark back to life, Xavier began to prepare a plan. He knew that playing with death and time was dangerous, but he believed that he had the necessary control to manipulate events in order to guarantee the balance of the universes. With the help of Magneto, who had allied himself with the X-Men after the fight against Thanos, and his most advanced students, Xavier began to devise a way to resurrect Tony. However, Charles made a fatal mistake. He had not foreseen that this action would open the door to something much darker. The return of Stark. Xavier and Magneto used a combination of mutant technology and magic to access the rifts in the multiverse. The process was risky, but they were ultimately able to bring Tony Stark back to life. Upon materializing, Tony appeared disoriented, confused, and in shock. The memories of his death and sacrifice were still fresh, and he couldn't quite make sense of what was happening. "Charles," Tony asked, recognizing Professor X immediately. "I died. How am I here?" Charles approached cautiously. "Yes, Tony, you did. But your absence caused an imbalance in the multiverse. I had to bring you back. The universe needs you to keep functioning properly." Tony was silent for a moment, processing what Charles had said. He had always trusted Professor X and his wisdom, but something about the situation felt off. "You should be dead," a cold, unfamiliar voice echoed inside Tony's mind. Before he could react, a sharp pain shot through his head, and Tony felt something invade his mind. It wasn't just a presence. It was something darker, something older, something that had been waiting for this moment. Victor Von Doom's plan. In the timeline from which Tony had been rescued, another genius was watching and waiting. Victor Von Doom, the ruler of Latveria and one of the most dangerous villains in the multiverse, had always had a plan. While the heroes fought Thanos, Doom was preparing for something much bigger. He knew that the death of Tony Stark, the smartest and most inventive man on Earth, would create a unique opportunity. Doom had discovered, through his own experiments with a multiverse, that Tony Stark was essential to maintaining the balance of realities. Doom, with his combination of magic and science, planned to merge with Stark and, in doing so, conquer not only Earth, but all timelines. When Xavier brought Tony back, he inadvertently opened the door for Doom. Doom's mind invaded Stark's, taking advantage of his newly created vulnerability. Now the two were locked in a battle of the minds, with Doom slowly taking control. At first, Tony tried to resist, but the merger was complete. Doom, with his knowledge of magic, had prepared an enchantment that made it impossible for Stark to escape. The two were now one entity, a fusion of the world's greatest intellects with ambitions far beyond anything the Avengers could have foreseen. "I am more than just a man now," Doom thought, feeling Stark's power flow through him. "I am the ruler of all realities." The rise of a new Dr. Doom. With the fusion complete, Doom took control of Tony Stark's body. He used the resources of Stark Industries and his own magic to create a suit of armor that combined Stark's advanced technology with Doom's mystical power. This new Doctor Doom was infinitely more powerful than any of his predecessors. His first move was simple but devastating. Eliminate any remaining resistance. Doom, with Tony's strategic mind and Victor's ruthlessness, knew he had to eliminate the threats before they had a chance to regroup. And his first target was Xavier. Without warning, Doom appeared at the X-Mansion. Charles, sensing the overwhelming presence, tried to use his telepathic abilities to communicate with Tony, but he soon realized that he was no longer dealing with a man he had once known. Dr. Stark? No, Victor Doom, Xavier said, looking at the imposing figure approaching. What we did was a mistake. We must correct it. Doom simply smiled. You don't understand, Charles. What you did was set me free. I am now the ultimate being. Neither you, nor the Avengers, nor any other hero can stop me. Xavier tried to use Cerebro to neutralize Doom, but it was in vain. With a simple gesture, Doom destroyed Cerebro and immobilized Xavier, leaving him unable to move. Thank you, Charles. Thanks to you, the multiverse is now under my control, Doom said before disappearing into a portal, leaving the mansion in ruins and Xavier in despair. The rise of the ultimate villain as Doom took control of multiple realities, the Avengers began to realize that something was terribly wrong. Reports of rifts in time and space were surfacing everywhere, and Tony Stark, whom they believed dead, was back, but as their most deadly enemy. Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, reassembled the team. Something is very wrong. Tony, or whatever he has become, is out of control. We have to stop him. Peter Parker, still devastated by the loss of Stark, struggled with his emotions. Mr. Stark would never do this. There must be a way to bring him back. Doctor Strange, now one of the few capable of understanding the ramifications of the multiverse, calmly spoke. This is no longer the Tony we know. Doom has taken over. We must be ready to face not only Stark's technology, but Doom's mystical arts as well. The Avengers, now more united than ever, prepared to face the new threat. However, what they did not know was that Doom was already several steps ahead. Using Tony's vast knowledge of the multiverse, he began to control and manipulate entire realities. The collapse of the Avengers, the final battle, took place in an alternate reality, a fusion of several timelines that Doom had shaped to his advantage. When the Avengers arrived, they quickly realized they were outmatched. Doom awaited them with a legion of alternate versions of himself, all equally powerful. Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes led the charge, while Doctor Strange attempted to use his magic to undo the time barriers Doom had erected. Peter Parker, still clinging to the hope of saving Stark, tried to appeal to the humanity he believed still existed within him. Mr. Stark, please, it doesn't have to be this way. I know you're in there somewhere. But the voice that answered was cold and unforgiving. Tony Stark is dead, Parker. Now, there is only Doom. One by one, the Avengers were struck down. Doom's combined abilities were too much for them. Even with all their might, they could not overcome Stark's ruthless intelligence and Doom's mystical power. Doom's warning when the battle was over, the Avengers lay defeated, lying on the ground. Doom, now the supreme ruler of all realities, looked down at them with contempt. You still don't understand, he said. I am the future. You are but relics of a time gone by. Doctor Strange, the only one still able to stand, looked at Doom and asked, What now? What do you want? Doom smiled beneath his iron mask. I have what I want, Stephen. The multiverse is mine. You may live for now. But know this, any attempt to defy me will result in the complete extinction of your reality. With those words, Doom disappeared, leaving the Avengers to deal with the aftermath of their defeat. The end and the beginning as the Avengers struggled to recover, a sense of hopelessness hung over them. Doom had become an invincible foe, and with the merger of Stark and Doom, the multiverse was in their hands. But all was not lost. Doctor Strange knew there was a way, a chance to undo Xavier's mistake and save Stark and the multiverse. However, it would require even greater sacrifices than those that had already been made. We need time, he said calmly. And more importantly, we need help from beyond this universe. The battle against Doom had only just begun. So these are our theoretical points. What do you think of all this? Could Professor Xavier be to blame for all this? Don't forget to leave a comment with your opinion, click the like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I'm Mr. Screen and see you soon. Bye.